Hello everybody, and welcome to the Fast Forward Pro League show, the show where we speed through all the latest and greatest updates from the LCS to make sure that you don't feel like you need to hit that fast forward button. My name is Stan Light, and I am thrilled you're joining us for our very first episode. Our main story tonight is very simply, the LCS is back. Coming straight to your second monitors whilst you're sitting in solo queue grinding in gold is the latest edition of NA's greatest efforts to shake up our region in the hopes that we can for once claim the throne of the best Western region. Starting this week on Friday, January the 15th, we dive straight into our first competitive play of the year with the newly minted Lock-In tournament. Whilst ultimately inconsequential to the standings through spring and summer split, this tournament will give us a sneak peek into all of those roster changes that kept us refreshing every social media channel trying to figure out which region we would be importing from next. So this has truly been one of the most seismic off-seasons that has occurred in my living memory of the LCS, since frankly, who can even remember any of last season's transfers anyway? And the past few months have been highlighted by a few statement signings, as well as two of the game's greats having hung up their keyboards. So unless you've been living under a rock or you're a TSM fan in denial, you've probably heard the news of TSM's Bjergsen and Doublelift both opting to retire, leaving the team with a major rebuild on their hands. Of course, that begs the question, how do last year's summer champions replace two living legends of the game who have brought them so much success? Well, tired of him getting the upper hand on their team on so many occasions, TSM decided that the best way to handle the Bjergsen killer himself, Power of Evil, was to bring him in to replace their 6-time LCS champion. While certainly monumental shoes to fill as the first new mid laner for TSM since 2013, Power of Evil has proven himself a formidable talent with his most recent successes on last season's surprise package FlyQuest. Now, let's not forget that PoE has also proven himself on the international stage as a member of the Epic Misfits team that brought SKT to the brink of elimination back at Worlds 2017. And with TSM's most recent performance at Worlds being, they could really use some of that magic with Bjergsen moving into a coaching role. On the AD carry front, to replace Doublelift, TSM have put faith in their academy by promoting Lost to the starting roster. While some fans may have fantasized about the potential signing of another big-name superstar in ADC, those familiar with the LCS in recent years may remember Lost from his time on the hugely volatile Echo Fox team that was capable of both the amazing and utterly ludicrous, something that you are almost always guaranteed when playing alongside Huni, who also joins Lost on this TSM lineup. For many, seeing Huni on the black and white of TSM replacing a top performer in Broken Blade has surely been one of the most unexpected moves of the offseason. To say that Huni has been a little inconsistent upon his return to the LCS 3 years ago would be a clear understatement, although it will be interesting to see if being on the winningest team in the league can bring the Holo Holo King back to his peak once more. With one of the most drawn-out moves that was as on and off as your internet during promos, TSM finally landed their main support target and Sword Art from the LPL Suning Gaming to replace Biofrost. Sword Art played a major part of his team's run to the World's Finals last year, where they were edged out by Dumb1 Gaming of the LCK as their captain and primary shot caller. A stalwart ever since his time on the Flash Wolves, remember them? Sword Art is more than capable of bringing key leadership qualities to this fresh lineup. However, TSM fans everywhere must surely be dreaming what a powerhouse bot lane they could have had if Doublelift had stuck around to play this year. Of course, that's not to say that TSM haven't been burned before by high-profile imports in their bottom lane. Yellow Stars, Ven Mythi, Kabi, anyone? And we are yet to see if any issues will be caused by the language barrier. All things considered, it's easy to make the argument that this iteration of TSM is weaker than last season, and that a new identity needs to be found, with the only remaining player from the previous split, the jungler Spica. But as always, there will be big expectations on TSM as the reigning champions, and the first few weeks will have to show us if they can be anything more than just a solid playoff team. Still reveling in their massive class of how to build the best NA team that has never been sent to Worlds, we've got Spring Split champions Cloud9. Cloud9's offseason was highlighted by a couple of major outgoings along with one major incoming, with Licorice and Niski shipped out and Perks biting the never say never bullet by completing his return to his new lane kingdom, after getting tired of constantly being dove bot lane. The move for the Croatian mid laner truly feels like the biggest, most hyped transfer coming into the new season, given the multitudes of success that Perks has experienced as part of a G2 super team, who edged out the most successful NA international performance at MSI back in 2019. Questions will obviously be raised about how Perks will adapt to being back in mid lane after an extended period of time playing a much more passive role at AD carry. But he's already shown his ability to adapt when he first moved into the bot lane, so it would be foolish to think that he would not be able to do the same moving back to his preferred position. Now personally, I'm looking forward to seeing a spicy matchup of Perks against his old team taking on Caps once more, as Caps always seem to get the better of him and he must surely be looking to get one over on his ex-teammate. Oh, and let's not forget his pre-existing synergy he's going to already have as he reunited with his old pal Lord Svenningsson himself. Joining Perks as a new addition to the C9 roster is Fudge, promoted from Cloud9's academy. Fudge has a lot to live up to this coming year, having ousted Licorice from the team entirely, but this is not the time for C9 fans to panic about their top lane. Fudge posted hugely impressive stats last season in the academy, and when we think about all these success stories from Cloud9's academy in recent years, and how Cloud9 has built the best system for promoting and nurturing new talent, we should all rightfully have big expectations that Fudge can succeed this coming season and be in the running for the newest rookie of the split. Rounding out the remaining places on the team, Cloud9 have kept the status quo by retaining the services of Blabber in the jungle and Sven and Vulcan as their duo lane. Although all three suffered to some degree in Cloud9's disappointing summer split last year, they each have strong cases to be considered as the best or one of the best in their positions in the league, perhaps only barring Core JJ at support. One important change behind the scenes was the departure of Coach Reaper, who was replaced by first-time head coach Rainover. Many attributed the achievements of this Cloud9 roster to the coach who had been shown so much faith by Jack Etienne, and it will be up to Rainover to find a way to continue the good work and forge a new path this coming year as a top contender for the crown. There really has been an absolute flurry of movement within the LCS in the past months, and despite making 2 changes in their lineup, Team Liquid still had one of the quieter transfer windows. Keeping superstars Jensen and Summer Split MVP Core JJ, along with an ever-improving prospect in Tactical, Liquid have maintained a strong core that showed they can once again be strong contenders for the championship. They placed 3rd in the summer playoffs after a disastrous start to the year in the spring split, where they finished in a miserly 9th position and ultimately led to Doublelift no longer being paid by Steve. To build on those improved performances, Coach Jat has brought in both Santorin from FlyQuest and Alfari from the LEC's Origin, while showing the door to both Broxa and long-serving veteran Impact. Santorin was one of the top junglers during the whole of last year with his ability to synergize well with his mid laner Power of Evil, a highlight of FlyQuest's play, which TL fans will hope that he can replicate with Jensen. Alfari, who despite serving on an Origin team that hit some major lows by finishing dead last in the LEC Summer Split, has always been considered one of the best top laners in Europe, even when left on an island. With potentially less attention directed towards TL's bot lane, this season could very well be Alfari's chance to step up and prove himself as an elite top laner in NA, with a team that will play around him. With a combination of a great foundation, astute signings, and relative stability with the fewest incomings and outgoings, it might not be long before we see Liquid celebrating another championship win. 100 Thieves, 100 Thieves. Someday, somehow, you will solve the conundrum of how to build a team around Someday. Their latest plot sees them stealing 4/5 of the Golden Guardians lineup and seeing where that takes them. Bringing in so many players from another team means that Someday will likely be the one who has to adapt to his new surroundings more than they will be adapting to him, but at least preserves the synergy that was built between the Golden Guardians players from their run in playoffs during summer. It was an absolute treat to watch FBI bring his carry pants out alongside a vastly improved Huhi at support, who returns to 100 Thieves after having been their starting mid laner in another life. With Closer's propensity to pop off and the Rock of Someday manning the top lane, it'll be up to Demonte to handle his own, in what has been a problematic position for the Thieves in mid lane since the departure of Ryu. The potential is definitely there for the 100 Thieves if they can build off the Golden Guardians' work from last season, and they'll be hoping for a little Tanner time to become a solid playoff team. Omg Clg, the only team that surpasses even the mighty Immortals in their pursuit of being the bottom team of the league, is the one and only Counter Logic Gaming. Both spring and summer were utterly abysmal for CLG, finishing 10th and 9th respectively, despite some initial upswing in performances with the return of Pobelter. CLG have been the yo-yo team of the league with positive performances in one season, quickly followed by utter collapse in the next, so we are waiting expectantly to see which CLG will actually show up. Notorious POB has stuck around for another run besides Smoothie at support, with the team picking up Finn, Broxa, and Wild Turtle in place of Ruin, Wiggly, and Stixxay. Although not his team's primary carry, Finn performed admirably over in the LEC for a rogue team that finished in the top spot of the summer regular season above any of G2, Fnatic, or Mad Lions, even getting a taste of international play as Rogue exited Worlds at the group stage. Broxa joined CLG after a mixed bag during his stint with Team Liquid and will be hoping that new surroundings will help him recapture the dominant form that he showed playing on Fnatic. The jungler had a disjointed introduction to the LCS after encountering visa issues in the first few weeks of the season last year, and a proper preseason with his new team will do him a world of good. After the horror show that was 2020 for the organization, you feel that CLG owe their fans some improved performances and new hope that things will get better, and we may see this team at least try to push for one of the final spots in the playoffs. It tells you as much as you really need to know about Dignitas this offseason that the best moves they made were to hold on to Dardoch and Aframu. Both are seasoned pros in the LCS who haven't shown their best for quite some time, but if that doesn't quite get your pulses running, they'll be starting their year with the brand new shiny incomings of Fake God, Celigo, and Neo. Certainly not earth-shattering moves that will jolt the team into contention, but it's not all doom and gloom. Fake God, a previous rookie of the split, could very reasonably be considered an upgrade on Viper after Viper had a largely difficult spell during his time on Dignitas. Bringing in Clg, who mostly had a forgettable stint on 100 Thieves, at least has room to grow and improve compared to when Dignitas had fielded the capped-out Froggen and Phoenix. Neo, who has bounced around various academy and amateur teams, will hopefully emulate his predecessor Johnson in quickly becoming a dependable AD carry besides Aphromoo. This Dignitas team certainly doesn't have the look that they're going to be competing for a playoff spot and will likely find themselves near the foot of the LCS standings come the end of the split, but at the very least the team still holds the record for the highest number of popular X-player streamers. Upon their return to the LCS, Evil Geniuses started brightly by placing second in the spring split regular season standings and coming third in the spring playoffs. However, the team regressed in summer, just barely scraping into the summer playoffs and being eliminated in a clean sweep by Cloud9. After a bit of a revolving door of roster changes in their solo lanes throughout the season, with players such as Jizuke, Golden Glue, Kumo, and Huni splitting time on the Rift, big decisions had to be made by the Geniuses for this time around. EG have refueled the Italian stallion Jizuke whilst getting 50% less swole by losing Golden Glue to play alongside 2019 LCS MVP Sven Skaren and new members at top, bottom, and support. Signing Impact from Team Liquid was an excellent pickup, and he should give some much-needed stability, consistency, and experience that was lacking with both Kumo and Huni. Bang's return to the LCK with the Freak Freaks and the departure of support Zazel has led to the introduction of Deathly and Ignar in the bottom lane. With Jizuke and Ignar, two very aggressively minded players, expect these masterminds to come up with some crazy plays between jungle, mid, and support, with Impact and Deathly holding down the fort in terms of their gameplay. If any of you out there are familiar with the LEC, another key pickup for EG was in their coaching staff, bringing in Peter Dunn from the Mad Lions. Mad were one of the teams in the LEC that finally looked like breaking up the duopoly of G2 and Fnatic at the top of the LEC and bringing the team to their first Worlds appearance last year. I, for one, am quietly optimistic that if Jizuke can rein in his inting tendencies or have enough of his team follow up that they end up being successful plays, EG can cause a few upsets in the coming months and make a deep playoffs run. It was fun while it lasted. That's the main feeling we get when thinking about the FlyQuest team disintegrating before our very eyes. Sadly, the team in the running for the best PR boosting campaign from their efforts with TreeQuest and SeaQuest lost their entire team and have had to pick up the pieces with a selection of players from rivals, academies, and other regions. The organization reportedly had a strong desire to run it back again this year with Solo, Santorin, Power of Evil, Wild Turtle, and Ignar, but due to circumstances that likely included financial issues, had no choice but to release every single one of them. So going back to their roots, FlyQuest have once again decided to make some picks from Cloud9, this time in the shape of Licorice, Palafox, and Diamond. With Licorice in known quantity, FlyQuest have secured themselves a strong top lane who may be out to prove Cloud9 wrong for letting him leave, and will be hoping that Palafox and Diamond will be the next two C9 Academy graduates to shine in the LCS following their strong performances in the Academy League. Johnson has also been picked up from Dignitas and should be a solid and stable addition down in the bot lane. Finally, the jungle spot holds the most intrigue, with Jose Diodo coming in as an import from the LLA, who really showed up and put himself on the map with his performances during the play-in stages of Worlds with his previous team, Rainbow 7. Last year's FlyQuest consistently showed that they were far more than the sum of their parts, and they look poised to run with a similar model this year. With the success the org had with pushing its brand, let's hope that they are able to replicate the highs of the previous season with an all-new roster and can stay competitive in the league. It'll definitely be difficult for them to match their feats of last season where they exceeded expectations and placed second in both splits, as well as coming so very close to progressing to the knockout stages of Worlds, and they will likely find themselves just on the outside of the top teams in the coming split. Speaking of the Golden Guardians, they were another team that let go of their entire roster, losing every single one of the players who had made massive strides by qualifying for their first playoffs and were inches away from eliminating TSM in the summer finals. Must really feel like a kick in the teeth for any of their fans. It definitely feels like a major step backward for the organization after they had invested themselves heavily in potential, finally got results, only to then throw it all away. However, in their defense, it's been clear to see that esports teams have still felt the implications of the coronavirus despite being one of the few sports that was able to continue throughout lockdown periods, and see the effects of the decision made by the organizations. On top of losing Closer, Demonte, FBI, and Huhi to 100 Thieves, Hanser also departed to rejoin TSM on their Academy roster. Replacing them, Golden Guardians have brought in Niles, Iconic, Ablaze Olive, Stixay, and Newbie. This team very much has an experimental feel to it with an eye on the future, with faith invested in many rookies and prospects. Niles and Iconic joining from the dominant Maryville University League of Legends team, plays Olive Font looking like he's finally going to get a run of games in the LCS, and Newbie fresh to the region coming in from the LLA. There will be huge pressure on Stixxay as the only established LCS veteran of the bunch to lead this group after being a fixture at CLG for the past 5 years. With 3 complete newcomers to the LCS, unless these rookies can bed in quickly and hit the ground running, this could very well be a very rough year for Golden Guardians fans. Where do we even start with Immortals? A disappointing year overall in 2020 spelt doom for the previous iteration of the team, and true to expectations, the organization rang the changes by letting go of their whole team except for Insanity. It was a bye-bye to all of Alorum, Xmithie, Apollo, and Hakuho, with fresh faces Revenge, Xerxes, Raze, and Destiny replacing them. Whilst none of the outgoings, and perhaps bar Xmithie, would have Immortals fans feeling too bad about themselves, it's perhaps a little difficult to see where the excitement should come in their newest lineup. Xerxes has always had hype around him as a jungler who is never afraid to try new champions and builds from his times on teams such as the Unicorns of Love and Splice, but struggled badly last year with Destiny and Origin. Revenge and Raze also joined with very little fanfare, with Revenge probably best known for his second place finish in the Tyler 1 championship with Team E Turner, and Raze from the now defunct Oceanic League. RIP OCE. This is the first instance we are seeing of an LCS team take advantage of the new rules that mean that players taken from that dissolved region no longer take up an import slot in NA, so Raze will have the added pressure of being standard bearer for OCE talent. Expectations for this team may not initially be very high, especially after a mediocre showing last time out, but hey, after 8th and 10th place finishes, the only way is up, right? And there you have it. That was our quick, not so quick rundown of the roster changes that you're going to be seeing in this upcoming split. Honestly, on first impressions, it's feeling like a year for new and old players alike to step up and prove themselves. We have players looking for the redemption arcs, academy players stepping up to the big stage, as well as new imports from regions like the LLA and OCE who will want to be carving out a name for themselves as well as their regions. It'll definitely be a bit of time before we can see how well all of these new signings will bed in, and the upcoming lock-in tournament will be perfect for figuring just how crap our predictions are going to be. And that's all we've got for today. So I want to send out a very special thank you to you for sticking around and watch this video. And if you found it even somewhat tolerable, well, you know what to do. I've been Stanlight for the FFPLS with a reminder to always tip your supports. See ya.